The stars were dying one by one. War had burned through every corner of the galaxy, leaving silence where once life had thrived. The Earth Defense Fleet, once proud and mighty, had been reduced to drifting ruins scattered across space. Captain Elias Rane sat alone in the command chair of his half-broken ship, EDS Endeavor. The screens flickered, life support was failing, and the hum of the reactor grew weaker by the hour. He stared at the frozen image of Earth on his cracked console, a blue memory now far beyond his reach. He had fought until the end. But the end had already come. Humanity had fallen. Elias leaned back and closed his eyes. His voice, tired and hollow, filled the small cabin. This is Captain Rane, last survivor of the Earth Defense Fleet. If anyone hears this message, know that we tried. Humanity fought with everything it had. He stopped. His throat tightened. There was no one left to hear him. He looked out at the endless stretch of space ahead, a red mist of stars glowing like dying embers. Somewhere in that nebula, his scanners picked up faint energy readings. He thought it might be a drifting station, maybe an asteroid with oxygen. It didn't matter. Anything was better than waiting to die. He pressed the last remaining button that worked. The ship groaned and drifted toward the crimson light. The nebula was strange. It shimmered with a purple glow, twisting like living silk. The sensors couldn't read it. The system screamed warnings Elias couldn't understand. The next moment, light engulfed the ship, bright and blinding. When the light faded, he was no longer drifting in empty space. A massive ship stood before him, silent and gleaming like a moon made of silver. Its surface pulsed with moving lines of light, alive, intelligent. It was unlike anything built by human hands. Elias's heart pounded. What is that?" he whispered. Before he could move, a beam of blue energy locked onto the Endeavor. His screens filled with symbols. A voice spoke through his comms, smooth, commanding and clear, yet soft as music. "Human vessel. You have entered Zirathi Imperial Space. Identify yourself." Elias froze. He had heard the name before. The Zirathi Empire, rulers of half the galaxy. The same empire that had crushed humanity years ago. He took a breath. "This is Captain Elias Rane, Earth Defense Command. My ship is damaged. I am not here to fight." There was silence. Then the voice returned, quieter now. "You are alone?" "Yes." "Then you are either very brave or very lost." The communication ended. Moments later, his ship was surrounded by light. The walls shimmered, and in a blink, Elias felt himself being lifted, weightless. He tried to shout, but the air vanished from his lungs, then darkness. When he opened his eyes, he was standing on a glowing floor. The air smelled faintly sweet like flowers. Around him were tall crystal pillars and floating lights moving in soft patterns. He was inside the alien ship. Before him stood several guards, tall figures with deep violet skin wearing silver armor that looked like liquid metal. Their eyes glowed faintly blue. None of them spoke. Then they parted, forming a path. From the far end of the hall, a figure approached, graceful, tall, and glowing with a quiet power. She wore robes of silver and purple, her long hair flowing like strands of dark silk. Her skin shimmered faintly violet, and her eyes glowed like amethyst stars. Elias's breath caught. She was unlike any being he had ever seen. Beautiful, yes, but there was more. A strange sadness rested in her gaze, as if she had seen countless worlds rise and fall. "You are the last human?" she asked. Her voice was calm, carrying the weight of command and compassion. Elias hesitated. "Yes, I think so." She studied him in silence. Then she spoke again. "I am Zira, Empress of the Zirathi Dominion." The name hit him like a storm. This was the ruler of the empire that destroyed Earth. Every instinct screamed at him to hate her. But standing before her now, he saw not a monster, but a being tired of endless power. "Why have you brought me here?" he asked cautiously. She turned her gaze toward the endless window of stars. "Because you should not die alone." Her answer stunned him. Elias was given a small chamber within the Empress's ship, a room filled with soft light and walls that sang faint notes when touched. Food was brought to him, strange glowing fruits that somehow tasted like bread and honey. Days passed. He healed slowly, though confusion filled his mind. Why was he still alive? Why did an alien queen care about a broken human soldier? One evening she came to him again. This time there were no guards. She walked with quiet steps and stopped beside his window. Outside, the nebula painted the stars violet. "Your world fought bravely," she said softly. "I watched the war. I ordered it to end, but my council refused. They called your species dangerous." Elias clenched his fists. "They weren't wrong." She turned to him, her eyes curious. "Do you still believe your world deserved to survive?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, because we never gave up. Even when we knew we couldn't win." The Empress's gaze softened. "That is what I admired most about your kind." For a long time they stood in silence. Two enemies bound by loss. Finally she whispered, "Do you hate me, Captain?" Elias looked at her, really looked. There was no cruelty in her face, only regret. He shook his head. "I don't know. I used to, but now, I just feel tired." A faint smile touched her lips. "Then perhaps you are more like me than you think." In the days that followed, Zira invited him to walk through her gardens. Vast places of glowing flowers that floated in the air, fed by light instead of soil. They spoke of many things. Of Earth's oceans. Of Zyrathi history. Of the loneliness that came with command. She told him how her empire had grown too large for her to control. How she had become a symbol, trapped by her own council's ambition. "They call me Empress," she said one day, "but I am only a prisoner of the throne." Elias listened quietly. He could see the truth in her eyes. Behind all her power, she was just another soul carrying too much guilt. One evening, a storm of light raged outside the ship. The nebula cracked with lightning that flashed purple and gold. Elias stood by the window watching. Zyra appeared beside him, her reflection glowing in the glass. "I should send you home," she said softly. "There is no home left," he answered. She turned to him. "Then what will you do?" He smiled faintly. "Maybe start again? Somewhere quiet." Her eyes lingered on him for a moment. There was something new there, something unspoken. "You are brave, Elias Rane, but your presence here is dangerous. If my council learns I have saved a human..." He nodded. "Then why risk it?" She hesitated, then said the words almost too softly to hear. "Because I wanted to remember what mercy felt like." For a moment neither spoke. The thunder outside faded. The light between them glowed brighter. Something shifted that night. The distance between a queen and a soldier began to disappear. Days later, rumors began to spread through the corridors of the Imperial ship. The guards whispered when the Empress passed. Scientists turned away when Elias walked through the halls. The story was out. The human was still alive. The council demanded an explanation, but Zira said nothing. Instead, she continued to meet Elias in secret, in a hidden chamber filled with blue light and soft music. They talked for hours about everything, life, loss, dreams. For the first time in years, she laughed, and for the first time since the fall of Earth, Elias felt alive. Yet deep in his heart, he knew the truth. Their connection was forbidden. The galaxy would never accept it. One night, as he stood by the window overlooking the violet world below, Zira stepped close. Her voice was quiet but full of emotion. "Even if the stars burn away, remember this, Elias Rane. You are not forgotten." He looked at her, unsure of what to say. "And you, Your Majesty, you're not alone anymore." Her eyes shimmered. "Then it seems even across the stars fate can be kind." Outside, the nebula glowed brighter, wrapping the ship in light. But in the shadows beyond the throne room, unseen eyes watched them both. The Zyrathi flagship drifted through the violet nebula like a silent cathedral. From the outside it looked peaceful, but inside tension filled every corridor. Rumors had spread faster than light, whispers of a human aboard the royal ship and worse, of the Empress's secret affection for him. Captain Elias Rane felt the change first. The guards who once ignored him now watched his every step. The scientists who once greeted him turned away. When he entered the garden halls, he could feel eyes following him through the glass. Something had changed. He found Empress Zira standing on her crystal balcony, looking out into the stars. Her long purple hair shimmered in the starlight, and the air around her pulsed with quiet energy. "They know, don't they?" Elias said softly. Zira didn't turn. Her hands rested on the railing, calm yet tense. "Yes, the council suspects. One of my advisors saw us together." Elias frowned. "What will they do?" Her voice was low. "They will demand answers. They fear that I have betrayed the Empire's law." He stepped closer. "And have you?" Zira turned to face him. Her eyes glowed faintly violet, filled with sadness. Perhaps, but if showing mercy is betrayal, then I accept it. That night the palace hall filled with the sound of boots and whispers. The High Council had arrived, a circle of powerful beings who ruled beside the Empress. They were taller than most Zirathi, their eyes glowing bright blue, their expressions sharp and cold. Zira entered the chamber, regal and composed. Her silver robe shimmered like moonlight. Elias stood hidden behind a curtain, unseen but listening. The council leader, Lord Vareth, stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing slightly. "We have heard troubling reports." "Speak," Zira replied. "That you have brought a human aboard your vessel. That he lives under your protection." The chamber grew silent. Zira didn't deny it. "Yes," she said simply. "I saved him." Gasps echoed around the room. The council members exchanged looks of disbelief and anger. Vareth's voice rose. "The humans are extinct for a reason. They are violent, reckless, and dangerous. To harbor one is to endanger us all." "He is no threat," Zira said calmly. "He is a survivor. A man of honor." "A man of honor?" Vareth spat. "You speak as if he were one of us." "Perhaps he is more than you," Zira replied sharply. The room trembled. Her power, though restrained, pulsed in the air. The council members stepped back. "You forget yourself, Majesty," Vareth said coldly. "The Empire stands because of our laws. You cannot break them for a single alien." Zira's voice softened. "The Empire stands on fear, not honor. It conquers, but does not heal. I have ruled long enough to see the emptiness in victory." The council's anger deepened. They bowed stiffly and left the chamber, but Elias knew from the look in their eyes that this was not the end. Later that night, Zira found Elias waiting in her garden. "They will try to remove me," she said quietly. "The council cannot accept what they do not understand." "Then we leave," Elias said. "We take a ship and disappear. There are empty worlds out there. We could start over," she smiled sadly. "It is not that simple. My power binds me to this empire. If I leave, war will follow. Millions will die." Elias clenched his fists. "Then what do you want me to do? I can't just stand here and watch them destroy you." She reached out and placed her hand on his. Her touch was warm, glowing faintly through his glove. "You will live," she said softly. "That is enough," he shook his head. "Not without you." For a moment, neither spoke. The air shimmered around them, filled with the faint hum of alien life. "Elias," she whispered, "there is something you must know. The council is already moving. They will use the humans' fall as proof that I am weak. They will try to replace me. Then we fight back," he said firmly. "You are one man." "One human," he corrected, meeting her gaze. "That's usually enough." Zira's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Perhaps that is why I cared for you." The next morning, alarms echoed through the ship. The guards entered his chamber. "Captain Rane, by order of the High Council, you are to be taken into custody." Elias didn't resist. He knew fighting them would only make things worse for Zira. They led him through long silver corridors toward the detention wing. Every alien he passed looked away. None dared meet his eyes. From a high balcony, Zira watched silently. Her expression was calm, but inside, her heart burned. When Elias was gone, she turned to her loyal attendant, Saren, a quiet young scientist who had always admired her. "He must not be harmed," Zira ordered. Saren bowed deeply. "Yes, my Empress. I will see to it." In the cell, Elias sat quietly. The walls pulsed with faint blue light, smooth as glass. No door, no handle, only energy fields. He had no weapon, no plan. He thought about Earth, about his home, his friends, the stars above the old sky. All gone. Yet now, for the first time, he wanted to live, not for himself, but for her. A soft voice broke the silence. "Captain," Elias looked up. It was Saren. She appeared outside the field, her expression nervous. "I work for the Empress," she said quickly. "She sent me. The council plans to overthrow her tonight. They have called the Imperial Guard. She will be forced to abdicate or worse." Elias stood. "Then take me to her." Saren hesitated. "If they catch us, we'll both be executed." He smiled faintly. "Then let's not get caught." The corridors were dim, lit only by the soft glow of alien lamps. Saren disabled the security barriers with a small crystal device, and together they slipped through the palace like shadows. They reached the throne hall. The huge doors stood half open and voices echoed from inside. Elias peered through the gap and saw Zira surrounded by the council. Lord Vareth stood before her, his armor gleaming. "Your reign ends tonight, Majesty," he declared. "The people demand a ruler untainted by alien influence." "You mean by compassion," she replied. "Call it what you wish. You have lost the Empire's trust." He raised his hand and the guards stepped forward. Their weapons glowed with blue light. Elias didn't think. He rushed into the hall, pulling a guard's weapon from his belt in one motion. The room froze. "Stay away from her," he shouted. The guards turned their weapons toward him. Vareth sneered. "So the human pet has teeth. And a heart," Elias said. "Something you all seem to have forgotten." Zyra stepped forward quickly. "Elias, stop, please," but the council ignored her. Vareth moved closer, eyes burning. "You will both die for this disgrace." Before he could order the attack, Zira raised her hand. The air exploded with light, brilliant and blinding. Energy pulsed from her skin, swirling around her like a storm. The guards were thrown back, weapons flying. Her voice echoed through the hall, powerful and full of sorrow. "Enough!" Everyone froze. The light faded slowly. Zira's eyes glowed brighter than ever, her power undeniable. "If ruling means forgetting mercy," she said, "then I no longer wish to rule." The council stood speechless. She turned to Elias. "Come with me." Together, they ran through the corridors as alarms blared across the ship. Saren met them near the hangar, her hands trembling. "I've prepared a vessel," she said quickly. "Small, fast, and unregistered." The Empress nodded. "Thank you, Saren. You have served me well." As they boarded, Zira looked back at her ship, the empire she had built, the power she was leaving behind. Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're sure about this?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, I was born into duty, not choice. But with you, I finally choose." The engines roared to life. The small ship shot through the hangar doors and vanished into the violet mist of the nebula. Behind them, the council ordered pursuit, but it was too late. The Empress of the Zyrathi had disappeared, taking with her the one human the stars had not yet broken. Hours passed in silence. The small ship drifted through the calm of space, far from any beacon or fleet. Elias sat beside Zira in the cockpit. For the first time in years, she looked peaceful. "Where will we go?" he asked. "There is a world," she said softly, "on the edge of a forgotten star. It has air, oceans, and silence. We can begin again there," he smiled. "A new beginning." "I like that." She looked at him, her eyes gentle. "You gave me the courage to defy destiny, Elias Rani. For that, I will never forget you." "You don't have to," he said quietly. "I'm not going anywhere." For a moment, there was no war, no empire, no duty. Only two lost souls crossing the stars together. Outside, the nebula's light faded behind them. Ahead lay darkness and endless possibility. But deep within the Empire, Vareth and the Council prepared for their next move. They would not let the Empress go so easily. The small ship drifted in the quiet of deep space. No stars, no signals, no sound, only endless black. Inside the cockpit, Captain Elias Rane sat beside Empress Zira, watching the lights of the navigation panel blink softly. They had been flying for days, escaping the Zirathi Empire that now called them traitors. Every hour they moved further away from known space into a region forgotten by maps. Elias looked at the star chart. "We're off all routes now," he said. "No signals, no patrols. We're ghosts," Zira nodded. "Good. Let them search the galaxy. They will not find us here." Her tone was calm, but her eyes betrayed the weight she carried. She had left behind her empire, her people, her throne, everything she was born to protect. For the first time she was free. And frightened of it, Elias noticed her silence. "You regret leaving?" She shook her head slowly. "No, but I wonder what will become of them. The council will rule now. Vareth will use my absence to strengthen his power." Elias looked at her. "You gave them a chance to change. If they choose not to, that's on them." Zyra smiled faintly. Spoken like a soldier, he grinned. "Old habits die hard." After several days, they found a small planet orbiting a dim yellow star. From space it looked peaceful. Green continents, wide oceans, and clouds of silver mist. The scanners showed oxygen, water, and life, but no cities, no signals. "It's perfect," Elias said. "Yes," Zira whispered. "A world untouched." They guided the ship down through the atmosphere. Wind roared outside and blue lightning flashed across the clouds. When they landed, silence returned. Elias stepped out first. The ground was soft, covered in glowing grass that shimmered like starlight. Above, twin moons hung in the sky. The air smelled fresh, filled with the scent of strange flowers. He smiled for the first time in years. "Feels like home," Sira followed him out. The wind touched her hair, and for a moment she looked more human than alien, just another soul lost among the stars. "Then this will be our home," she said softly, "until the universe remembers us again." Over the next few weeks, they built a small shelter near a river that glowed faintly at night. Sira used her alien technology to grow food and generate power. Elias repaired the ship, turning it into a base. They worked side by side every day. Sometimes they spoke about the past, sometimes they didn't. Silence between them was never heavy. It was comfortable. At night, they sat by the river watching the moons rise. Sira would tell stories of ancient Sirathi kings and the worlds they ruled. Elias told her about Earth, about oceans, forests, and how humans once looked up at the stars dreaming of peace. "Your kind loved impossible things," she said once, smiling. "That's why we survived as long as we did," Elias replied, "because we never stopped believing we could." Months passed. The seasons of the planet changed, and the air grew warmer. Flowers bloomed across the fields. The world became alive with color, but peace in the galaxy never lasted long. One evening, while Elias was repairing the ship's old scanners, the screen flashed with a faint signal, distorted, weak, but real. He froze. "No way," he muttered. He boosted the frequency. The words became clear, mechanical but familiar. "This is Lord Vareth of the Scifi Council. All ships converge on the following coordinates. The traitor Empress has been found. The human must not escape." Elias's heart sank. They had found them. He rushed to the shelter. "Sira, they're coming!" She looked up from the small garden she had been tending. For a moment, her calm cracked and fear flickered across her face. "How? Doesn't matter." "We have to move," she shook her head. "No, Elias, running will only delay them. Vareth will chase us until the end of time. We must face them." "You can't fight the entire empire," he said. "I don't intend to," she replied. "But I will not let them destroy what we've built here." Elias looked into her eyes and saw something he had not seen before. Resolve, not born of duty, but love. "Then we make a stand," he said. By the next day, they had fortified the small camp. Sira used her power to create energy barriers and shields. Elias modified the ship's defense systems, turning old tools into weapons. As the twin moons rose that night, they saw it, the faint glow of ships entering the planet's atmosphere. Sira stood at the edge of the field, her silver robe flowing in the wind. Elias stood beside her, armed with the last working plasma rifle from his ship. The first enemy vessel landed a few miles away. Lights flickered across the horizon. The sound of engines grew louder. Elias exhaled slowly. "Guess this is it." "Not yet," Sira said softly. "There is still a chance." She closed her eyes. Her hands glowed with light, brighter and brighter until the ground beneath her shimmered. The air rippled like water, and a pulse of energy spread across the planet. Elias shielded his eyes. "What are you doing?" "Calling the planet itself," she whispered. "Its core still remembers the old ways." The ground trembled. From the forests, glowing creatures appeared, transparent like living energy. They moved in silence, surrounding the landing site where Vareth's soldiers emerged. When the enemy saw them, panic spread. Sira's voice echoed through the air, calm and commanding. "Leave this world, or it will not forgive you." But Vareth's voice roared through the comms. "You have no power left, false queen." He ordered his forces forward. Weapons fired, blue light streaking across the field. The creatures of light blocked the shots, dissolving them into harmless mist. The planet itself seemed to defend her. Elias joined her side, firing at the advancing soldiers. His aim was steady, his mind focused. For the first time, he wasn't fighting for survival. He was fighting for someone he loved. The battle raged until the sky turned crimson with dawn. When it ended, silence fell again. The enemy ships were retreating, broken and burning. Vareth's voice came one last time, filled with rage. "You may win today, Empress, but the stars will turn against you. The Empire does not forgive." Then the signal cut. Elias lowered his weapon, breathing heavily. "It's over." Sira stood still, her eyes glowing faintly. No, she said softly. It has only begun. Days later, the quiet returned. The sky cleared, and the planet was peaceful again. But both of them knew it wouldn't last forever. The Scifi Empire would rebuild, and they would come again. Elias repaired the ship, preparing it for another escape. But Zira refused to leave. I cannot run from who I am, she said. But maybe I can change what I am. What do you mean? Elias asked. The Zirathi follow strength. If I can show them a different kind of power, not through fear but through compassion, they may listen. Elias frowned. You're going back? She nodded. Yes, but not to reclaim the throne. To rebuild what was lost. He stepped closer. And what about us? Her eyes softened. We began here, and we will always belong to this world. But if I do not go, they will destroy it. Elias took a deep breath. He understood, though it hurt. Then I'm coming with you. You cannot, she said gently. They will see you as a weapon, not a man. They will kill you before I can speak. I've faced worse, he replied. She smiled faintly. I know, that's why I love you. The next morning, the sun rose golden over the silver river. Zira stood at the edge of the field, ready to leave. The small ship's engines hummed softly behind her. Elias walked up to her. You don't have to go alone. She reached out and touched his face, her fingers warm. You gave me something the stars never could, hope. Don't lose it. He held her hand tightly. Then promise me one thing. Come back, her eyes shimmered. If the stars allow it, I will. She stepped into the ship. The hatch closed and the engines roared to life. Elias stood watching as it rose into the sky, a streak of light vanishing into the horizon. Weeks passed. Elias lived quietly on the planet, tending the gardens they had built together. Every night he looked up at the stars, waiting for a sign, a signal, a whisper, anything. One evening, as the moons rose, the sky shimmered. A soft light descended, landing near the river. He ran toward it, and there she was, standing under the silver glow, her robe torn, her eyes tired but alive. You came back, he breathed. She smiled faintly. I told them the truth. About you. About mercy. About love. And they listened? Some did, enough. He stepped closer. So what happens now? Zira looked at the sky. The Empire will change, slowly. But for now, I am free. She turned to him, and for the first time since they met, her smile was unguarded, pure. And so are you, Elias Rane. He took her hand, and together they watched the sunrise paint the sky in gold and violet. The war was over. The empires had fallen. But among the stars, two hearts, one human, one alien, had found peace. And as the light grew stronger, Elias whispered the words that once defined humanity's spirit. No matter how dark the galaxy gets, there's always someone who will choose hope. The Empress of the Zirathi nodded, her eyes shining. Then hope will be our legacy. Above them, the twin moons faded into the dawn. The new world awoke, and somewhere in the distance, the universe began to heal.